Welcome back to another edition of Speed Street. We are back here as we creep closer and closer to the holidays. We had Halloween last week. We were wrapping up the NASCAR season that we did this past weekend. And now here we are. We are fully fledged, besides Formula One. And you got a big one coming up there in the States that we're going to talk about. But NASCAR in the books. IndyCar has been in the books. And now we're just going to be rocking and rolling here on the Speed Street. Myself, Ben Walton, Connor Daly, of course, presented by Dirty Mo Media. Glad you guys are here. CD, we got, of course, another off-season edition of Speed Street here, but still plenty to talk about, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is a ton of racing going on still. I mean, not a ton, but there's some. The NASCAR Championship weekend. I thought it was a great, an interesting weekend. A lot of great racing. A lot of sometimes maybe not as fun racing, but it was very interesting. Formula One now heading to Las Vegas, which is there going to be? I mean, early predictor. Firefest racing.
You've been on that for a while.
Been on it for a while, and yep. I'm even working for the event, so I feel bad. I don't want to I want to go there and obviously get paid to do my job, and I hope it works out great because I can't wait to commentate on some Formula One. But
so, are you the Billy McFarland or the Ja Rule in this situation?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay,
I'd like to say Ja Rule because why not?
Yeah. Okay,
but it's going to be interesting. I exchanged some texts. Oddly enough, this is very random, but the team manager for Carlin, when I qualified on pole for Carlin in IndyCar, he actually is working out in Vegas with the event, and so I kind of exchanged texts with him and say, hey, like, how's it going? And it's been a lot of work for those folks out there. It's been a lot of work for those folks, and there's like random internet stories. Like my little brother Carter found one the other day that was like, oh, like potentially the race isn't going to happen because of this, that, and whatever, or people didn't get paid to do something, or people, I don't know. A lot of things get thrown around, obviously, right? But I am very curious. I am very curious. I actually was texting most of the day just 2 days ago with Daniel Ricciardo, and what he was talking about that all those drivers have to do during that week is wild. Like they are. He said he doesn't even have an hour to himself, I don't think, where they're not doing something.
Wow.
And so they're definitely getting, used up. They're definitely, doing the promotion, doing the work, obviously, and as to focus in on as a driver as well. I mean, you got to learn a new track, whole new, situation there. So I am just one of the biggest questions and curious activities that I will participate in so far this year. But I hope it's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly going to be interesting. Like I said, I remember being out there for that bachelor party in September, is Labor Day weekend, and people were already kind of, because different folks that we would meet at the pool or at the casino or wherever, oh, where are you guys from? We're from Indianapolis. Oh, wow, racing, right? Yep. Oh, wow. So, like, Formula One coming out here, right? And we're like, yeah, it's different, but we get it. Yeah, no, it's a thing. And they're like, man, we can't wait. Don't know what to expect. We're like, we don't either. Should be interesting.
Like, I've actually got messages from people, too. They ask if I'm coming out to the race. I'm like, yeah, I got to work. I was like, are you going to the race? They're like, no, we're just going to party. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, like, I guess there are people that are going to spend money on expensive hotels just to party and because again, Formula One is so big now that all these team partners, whether it's Duracell with Williams or Red Bull or Monster Energy with Mercedes, every single one of these big companies is going to have some sort of massive shindig every night. There's going to be a party on Wednesday night. There's going to be a party on Thursday night. There's going to be a day party Saturday before the race. There's going to be a Sunday after, like, there's going to be events and branded parties. Like, I actually just saw some Instagram stories today, like the Omnia nightclub, big nightclub there in like right on the Strip. They've already got like racing jackets on, and like they're using weird words, probably because Formula One stuff is trademarked. So it's like, let me actually go to find out what words they were using, because I was like, well, that doesn't what?
So it's like when you watch like Family Guy, and they have to say like
Roads of Fury.
There we go.
Roads of Fury is what these events. I don't know what's going on.
Right.
But they have Formula One simulators at Omnia and jackets that say Roads of Fury. So I don't know if that's that doesn't sound very Formula One-y, but we're getting on furious roads out in Las Vegas apparently in the nightclub. So very interesting out there. It's going to be quite a scene.
It sounds more. Go ahead, Ben.
Oh, I was just gonna say, with it starting at 10 p.m. local time and it's gonna be 1 a.m. Eastern. Do you have like, what's your plan for trying to pace yourself to? I know you're not gonna be, enjoying the pleasantries of the evening while you're working, but through the day, it's a long day out in the sun and the heat. If it's still gonna be warm there, and then trying to go and commentate for the whole race that late.
Well, that's the thing. I got an email today about like kind of our general schedule, and like obviously the sessions are at night, so it's going to be freezing cold. Like it's only going to be 70 during the day and 40s at night. So like
I forget how
we're going to be
yeah.
freezing cold in the desert, and I mean it's almost like a DJ lifestyle. Like the race starts at 11 or something like that at local time. You're going to be getting out of the office at 1:32 in the morning, and so actually the funny thing is, normally after F1 races, like there's all these like cool after parties. The clubs are closed by the time they get out of the race is done. So
they're not going to make any special.
I think everyone would be too tired if the race finishes at 2 in the morning and you're like, well, yeah, we got to go to the nightclub at till 4. Like
but it's Vegas, baby.
It is Vegas, baby. That's true. It never sleeps. Never sleeps. But yeah, again, I'm just very curious because this is going to be one of the most unique racing schedules, and like I've been around racing since I was a fetus. So like. This is a very, very interesting schedule. Thankfully, honestly, no early mornings, so that's cool. Like I like sleeping in a little bit, especially in Las Vegas. But yeah, it's gonna be something. And I thought the Brazil race as well. I thought it was a good race. So maybe they got some good momentum heading there. Like I thought the sprint race was really good. I know this is like randomly getting into racing talk, but like the sprint race in Formula One I thought was really good over the weekend. So I hope that means that there's maybe some entertainment to be had in the Vegas race. There's a lot of long straights at the track, so maybe a lot of overtaking. So we'll see. If Vegas somehow lucks out and it's a great race along with like a wild show, I mean, cash the check. It's going to be there forever.
I'm wondering if there will be anything here in Indianapolis, any of the fine establishments that we enjoy venturing to, or that are known for being kind of a racing scene that would perhaps be opening to have the race on at 1 a.m. and have people be able to come and watch. I might look into that. That sounds pretty interesting, because even someone like myself who a lot of times I've been said on this podcast plenty of times, I always stick up for IndyCar, I stick up for NASCAR, Formula One kind of rubs me the wrong way. I think it's kind of boring. But even myself, I mean, it's
motorsport.
Well, it's motorsport, but the scene, like you mentioned, everything that's coming along with it, you got to watch, you got to check it out. So maybe a few people in Indy, maybe some Speed Street listeners, some pals, maybe we'll try to figure something out this weekend. Head to maybe Main Street Speedway or somewhere in Broad Ripple, well, maybe not Broad Ripple, but somewhere to watch this thing at 1:30 in the morning. We'll figure it out.
It's very funny too, because I'm literally I have ESPN on my television off to my left here. Las Vegas F1 commercial, and it looks wild. They got like, all the celebrities, marshmallows, DJs, dancers, crazy. Very few race cars, but like a lot of cool celebrities and champagne spraying and all kinds of stuff. So
just the Bellagio
show,
the fountain just going crazy.
My favorite will be when the broadcast uses a bunch of gambling terms and stuff. Like, they're really putting all their chips on this bet or something. It's going to be it's the same way when NASCAR goes there. So I can't wait for that.
That's what it's all about. Yeah,
that's the only reason I want to watch now. That's enough alone. I want to watch.
We'll start a count.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned NASCAR there, and you mentioned Roads of Fury or whatever that's going on in Vegas. So we said that kind of sounds more like a NASCAR situation, a NASCAR scene there. And we did wrap up the NASCAR season, had the championship over the weekend. And I believe Connor? Yeah, I believe. Did you predict Blaney last week, or did you say Larson?
I think I said Larson. Ben would have to check. Ben's our record keeper.
You said Larson. We both said Larson, but I said Blaney would be my second pick because he was good last year. So I'll take half credit for that.
And how about it? Ryan Blaney does capture the title. The Star Wars loving, Hooters dating son of a gun. And he brought it home.
Exactly him. I mean, I think that was obviously winning the NASCAR championship, big for your career, but like career day in general for Ryan Blaney. Like that was like when he needed it, he did everything he needed to do. I thought I and everyone else like that were on pit boxes of the other championship competitors were probably like, this guy's melting down in the middle of the race when he's angry at Ross Chastain.
Right.
I think a lot of teams think this as well. I knew, drivers can absolutely get emotional and like be fully into it, but also still do their jobs efficiently, right? Like, because we are always mad at someone almost in the car, like whether you're racing someone or they're like, you're frustrated, you can't get by them. But like, I certainly have been, voicey on the radio at times, talking about other people that have gone on. And I know that like, at the same time, like I'm just basically reporting what's going on to my team. And I'm like, you guys do whatever you want with it. Like, I don't really care, but like, it's a good outlet for me because I have to tell someone about it because it's like, hey, this sucks. I'm not missing a corner by doing that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm only talking when I'm on a straight, you know what I mean? And like, I'm still focused in on what's going on. Mm-hmm. And Ryan, again, it does make you nervous as a fan. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's waving at the guy, flipping him off. They got the bird live on TV. Like, I was like, this does seem like, because again, in the NASCAR championship format, like he didn't have to win the race, just got to beat the other guys, right? And he was well in front of the other guys. And then he hit Ross Chastain. And I was like, oh man, I was like, oh, please, Ryan, I hope you win this thing. Cause that would be a tough look if that's, that's what was going on. But again, proof right there that like you can just be so into it and trying to deliver a message. And in the end, you can still do the job efficiently because he did. Final restart, made every move the right way, was smart. Him and Kyle Larson, great little battle there. I fully enjoyed seeing that. Now, I had this in my notes. The yellow flag caused by Kyle Busch there at the end seemed a little fishy. Seemed a little fishy to me. I looked at it. And I'm like, man, Kyle Busch just lost it by himself. And they played the onboard camera and just the way he used the throttle and stuff like that. Again, you can't get too deep into Conspiracy Island because that's just a terrible place to go. But it just seemed a little, again, I don't know how I cannot, as someone who hates when dumb people on the couch try to judge something that they don't know physically how to do by driving race cars really fast around a racetrack, I am not going to say that, wow, I can't believe he spun. But it is hard to drive these cars. I assume it is very hard to drive them on short ovals like that, low grip. But yeah, Kyle Busch just losing it by himself. Maybe he needed a yellow too. I don't know. But it was a situation where I was like, man, this does set up for a great finish. Like, this does set it up really well.
Right.
And then the pit stops change everything. Blaney goes from the front to the back of the championship competitors. And it's, I do love NASCAR for that. They gave me everything I wanted. I wanted a little late race yellow. Give me a fun restart, and we got it.
Ben, what about you? I know you're following along there.
Yeah, I think it did seem fishy, but I think Kyle Busch, of all people, doesn't really give a crap
he doesn't
about
care.
doing
He's
all
like,
that.
no, I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah. My thing with that is, and this is just like the whole championship format, like I feel like you can have a good race as a driver in the championship all day long. And then no matter what happens, it feels like there's always going to be that late race yellow. So it's like, can you pretty much just bank on that's going to happen? And do you I don't know. I feel like it just like kind of throws away some of the like authenticity of the race. If it's just like, you can be good all day and then there's that late race yellow you just kind of have to count on. So.
I mean, I think it's just in motorsport in general, right? Especially NASCAR. There's a percentage of numbers that'll tell you, yep, that's going to happen. But then it doesn't, because it is truly a sport where you really don't know what's going to happen. It is down to sometimes tire failures or equipment stuff, or you just might have lost it right at the end of the race. Like there is, you have to also think at the end of these races, the drivers are physically worn out too. So mistakes are more capable of happening. So it's, we often see it at the IndyCar races at Texas, right? I think that's physically, that race is really, really hard. So you're running around, not many people are overtaking. Eventually, after one or two stints, there's a yellow. Well, the car, I can promise you, is getting so hard to drive at that point. Like, the steering is insanely heavy. You're trying to stay flat coming out of the pits because it's your heavy fuel load, new tires. And sometimes that's when people start making mistakes. We've seen it before. I remember Zach Veach one year. I remember Jack Harvey one year. Like, there are people that just single car accidents because, again, maybe it was something else, but like realistically, all the physical factors come into play then, because as soon as that yellow would come out, right? Like I'm like, oh man, I'm really glad that yellow came out, because man, this has been a tough couple stints, just flat out. You know what I mean? So I think all the drivers, understand that by the end of the race, mistakes are more prevalent. There's definitely more potential for that to happen. So, I enjoyed it though. I mean, to get into a little bit like the Xfinity race too, the last restart, again, great racing on that restart. And I was trying to do I was doing some live tweeting. The truck race was,
your tweets were funny.
I got into some Twitter. I was just sitting at my house Friday night watching the truck race. And, I would like to race in the truck series next year. Like, I would love to be a full-time truck racer next year. That's what I'm trying to do. But man, that was wild. Like that, there were so many accidents and so many ways people hit each other that I guess I understand it, because there's a lot of youth in that series, a lot of youth. But it was a shame to see, because then you watch the Xfinity race. There was some great racing there. You watch the Cup race, again, great racing there for the most part. Phoenix, I still don't know whether that's the best place to have it or not. You know what I mean? I don't know about that. But the truck race, I don't know if you saw any of it, Joey, but there was it was just crash. And I almost ran out of bourbon. Like I had to pour myself another glass. I was having a great time live tweeting the event. There was a lot of other people live tweeting the event saying, like, how in the world is this still possible? You had people wrecking each other intentionally. And then, Corey Haim, I was like, dude, man, he caused that last yellow. But after that, or one of the starting yellows to start it all, I mean, you really wish you probably didn't take yourself out of it at that point. You know what I mean? So it's a one thing leads to another. And if Corey Haim doesn't put Carson Hocevar in the wall, if Carson Hocevar didn't put Corey Haim, in the wall, like, all these things lead to so many different, outcomes. Grant Enfinger had the championship won easily, and then he didn't. You know what I mean? So if I was Grant Enfinger, I would want to probably throat punch Corey Haim. And it's just, it was a shame to see that, because I like Grant Enfinger. I got to talk to him at Texas this year at the IndyCar race. He asking a lot of questions about IndyCar. But yeah, that was, man, that NASCAR is it's a wild world, a lot of drama. But I respect it. I mean, I enjoyed watching it. Like, I know it doesn't look great, but like, as a race fan, like, I'm still I'm having a great time.
Can't look away. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't look away.
Yeah. What's the
in the middle of the race, I can look away. At the end, no way.
Once the drinks start flowing, the tweets start going. That's always kind of a motto that I. So sometimes.
I mean, I wasn't having a ton, but I was having a nice Friday evening bourbon. I love a good bourbon to finish off the week, right?
Yeah, sure.
And I have some motor racing on the television. I would say a little bit questionably late. I mean, it was a very late night watching truck racing. I think they probably should have moved that start just slightly earlier. But yeah, it was that was a wild night. And then Ben Rhodes champion again.
Let's talk about
Interesting
this.
fella.
Let's talk about these press conferences here. Let's talk about when old Ben Rhodes is getting behind the mic after he's done the thing, and pretty quick turnaround for you to be under the influence that quickly, right?
Now, again, as drivers, we get dehydrated very quickly, right? So
That's true.
I know for a fact that like after the Indy 500, or like after a race that's like super hot, if you have one beer, you're like, whoo, all right, this feels great.
Hitting you. Yeah,
It's
okay.
hitting ya.
That's fair.
But Ben Rhodes, again, I've never even talked to the guy in my life. Like, obviously I've done a couple truck races, but never really talked to him. I didn't enjoy some of racing with him in the first Vegas truck race that I did. But I don't have enough experience in that series to really know. I know that as a viewer of the truck series, I would say that he's done some wrecking of folks that I'm not super thrilled about, but you can't argue with a multi-time champion. I know you didn't see the press conference, Joey, and I didn't watch the whole thing, but it does. I mean, the funny thing about it is people on the internet ask for more driver personality, right? Like, hey,
Oh yeah.
let's see it. Let's get some nice interaction, some funny things. And then if you're if like you have too much personality, well, then it gets, there are some people on the internet saying like, oh, this guy's a joke, or this is just embarrassing. And it's like, well, okay, so what's the middle ground? Because like, again, I thought some of the clips were funny, but then I also thought some of the clips were like, all right, this is kind of stupid. But like, I would rather see that than someone who just gets up and says, you know what? Really proud
Thanks
of the
to sponsors. Thanks to team.
Yeah,
Wouldn't
really
be here without them.
Exactly. Proud of the Kubota Chevy for, getting me to the end. And the boys called us great strategy. Because like everyone says that, you know what I mean? So, but like to go out and say like dinosaurs aren't real and like all these things. And like the words, I want to let drivers be drivers though. So congratulations, Ben Rhodes. But Joey, if you get to watch any clips of that, I'd be very curious to see what you think of it. It seemed like a little bit more, maybe a little bit more drunky drunk than because like wasn't slurring any words, just using a lot of them.
Right. Ben, what'd you think?
Yeah, I'll save.
Were you
some
there,
of my
Ben?
analysis.
Were you in Phoenix?
No, I was not in
Okay,
Phoenix.
got it.
I'll save some of my analysis for the podium because it's gonna be a part of
got
it.
it.
But
Yes.
I have maybe some chunks. So one thing I will say, the driver personality thing is like definitely important to show.
I think it is too.
I can't remember who it was. One of the NASCAR media members was kind of talking about how it's just maybe like more of a sloppy look because it's supposed to be like this like media showcase, and if you're going up there and people are like trying to do their job and answer questions and do what they have to do, and like the driver is kind of giving them stuff like that, it can be a little bit embarrassing. But I think it's kind of a part. It's a double-edged sword because it's a part of. I mean, you get a guy that just won the championship and worked really hard all season. Like he's gonna celebrate, but how quickly was this turnaround? I don't know Ben Rhodes. I don't know what his alcohol tolerance is. So I mean, he showed up with I watched the whole thing, probably about half of it before we started recording. He brought a tall boy that I think was at least half finished to the press conference, and good for him. He didn't put it up on the table. Can't give your
Sponsor,
your free sponsor stuff. So I'll give him that. He kept it underneath, but I don't know. It is funny, and this is the second year he's done this because the first time he won the championship a few years ago, he did the same exact thing.
Oh yeah,
I think that one was a little bit worse. I feel like he kept it a little bit together this time. So
yeah,
I do find it funny. But I compare it to Brad Keselowski's Sports Center interview for when he won the championship.
Love that one.
Well, I think that's a little bit different because like he was doing his media rounds at the end of the night, and he had a Miller Lite sponsorship too. So like if anything, it's just he's making sure he's enjoying his product and enjoying the brand that he represents. So I don't know.
But I tell you, if Miller Lite was my sponsor, I'd have that thing everywhere.
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
Well, Kevin Harvick, right? At the end of that race, everyone's got a Busch Light there. You know what I mean? And I'm like,
yeah, right.
this is awesome. Like,
Yeah.
I actually wish there was more of that in IndyCar. Like, the race is over. We got all the boys just hanging out there, and we're all going to crack open a beer. Like, what is wrong with that? Like, in IndyCar, Like race teams have to like hide a beer fridge, like underneath, like hide a beer cooler, like underneath the trailer, and like maybe sneak a beer when the weekend is over because we've all put in a ton of hard work. And you guys deserve beers. Like the crew guys, they deserve that. You know what I mean? They put in hours, early mornings, nights, and like I love the idea of, you know, just seeing Kevin and the boys just having a Busch Light and Busch Light. Like talk about
pleasing your sponsors. They probably can love that.
And talk about a sponsor being loyal to the driver, right? Like, you know, they like put up a thing in their beer brewing factory like for Kevin Harvick. And it's just, it goes to show you that like Busch Light, Kevin Harvick, that's like a ride or die. Like they seem like ride or die folks. You know what I mean? Like obviously Busch Light makes it possible for Kevin Harvick to get paid the money that he gets paid. There's sponsors that are always involved, right? But like that loyalty is incredible. And a driver tied with a sponsor, like when you make that work to a high level, it's just, I mean, I wanted to drink a Busch Light right then. I was like, these guys look awesome.
Yeah.
Like this group, these warriors that went into battle for the last time with Kevin Harvick, you know what I mean? Good for them for having big old tall boys, driver included. I mean, I wish there was more of that in IndyCar. I wish people were open enough with being able to like just know that we're all adults here and we can celebrate because we all put in a ton of work to be here and to do that. So I liked it.
Maybe you be the like Andy Dufresne from Shawshank Redemption for IndyCar, you know, where he's like going to Hadley and he's saying, you know, the boys deserve to have some ice cold suds after a long day's work. You know, have you seen that movie, right? Just one man's opinion. Maybe you put on that cape and you be the you be the Andy Dufresne for the series to get some suds out there for all the good fellows.
Well, I don't have much time in IndyCar left anyway, so we'll hopefully someone else can get it started. Scott McLaughlin's that guy. Scott McLaughlin is that guy.
Right.
We'll go with that.
Scotty Mack. All right.
I also want to point out really quickly about that, Connor. If for IndyCar, like if they're literally spraying champagne in victory lane and in the podium and all that, I think it's going to be, you know, like I don't see the difference. So
well, the problem is with IndyCar, and we've talked about this a little bit before, is the podium looks depressing. Like everyone should like if the podiums in IndyCar were like the Formula E podiums or the F1 podiums or I mean NASCAR obviously doesn't do podiums, but like they really focus on the victory lane celebration, which is great. But again, we have podiums. They need to be big setups, big colorful activities, not just it's such a miss because the podium celebration should be a big deal. Making it on the podium of an IndyCar race is a huge deal. When I got on the podium in Detroit, it was a tin step and a plastic board behind us. Well, I know it was a metal railing with like a sheet that had like the event sponsors on it, and there was a lake behind us. Like when we were spraying champagne, I just jumped onto the ground and like walked around. Like it was just, right. And again, greatest experience of my life, one of the greatest experiences of my life. But it didn't seem like what it could have been. Like when I was on the podium in Europe in F3. Oh my gosh, you're up there. They're playing the national anthem. You get to spray the champagne and just drink it right there. Have a great time. But it just doesn't. Yeah, I don't know. It's something that I hope we IndyCar, because like I obviously don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I hope they sort it out because drivers deserve that. Drivers do deserve that.
You mentioned the onus is on Scotty Mack now. Interesting development over the weekend for his teammate, his fellow bus bro, Joseph Newgarden. Now you have two Penske. You have the Indy 500 champ with Joseph Newgarden. You have the NASCAR champ with Ryan Blaney, Team Penske rocking and rolling. And, of course, with that comes a little bit of wagering that has to go down. A little tattoo wagering that has to go down, possibly.
I did see this. Ben, can you tell us about what this tweet was all about? Like, do you have the wording of it? Do you have what was potentially promised for us? Because I don't have. I saw what was going on. Apparently, there was a text message chain that was screenshotted, and Joseph Newgarden. As someone who has known Joseph since we were literally like children, I could never see Joseph with a tattoo. That's one thing I just don't see it. Too
worried about the image.
But yeah, do you have it up there, Ben?
I do. So I think it started, they were texting each other, I think on Tuesday or Wednesday of this past week. And Joseph texted Ryan saying, if you win this championship, I'm getting your face tattooed on my thigh. And he said, let's
Bold
effing
statement.
go. And then after, of course, he won the championship, he sent that screenshot and said, oh no. And I can't remember if it was before or after that, they were kind of talking about like, he looked like an 1800s president or an 1800s businessman with the beard and top hat and stuff. And then Ryan quote tweeted Joseph's tweet and said, let's talk numbers. What's the diameter of this portrait of an 1800s president going to be? And then Joseph said it was nothing about size or whatever. So, more to come with that. I'm excited to see what's going to happen with that.
I don't see this happening. I don't think there is any way that Joseph is getting a tattoo. Not even a chance. So I think it would be the funniest thing ever if like he did get one, because I noticed this is like, this might be too much information, but like Travis Pastrana, he has a ton of tattoos like on his upper thigh, because those are mostly always covered by like shorts or pants, right? So like anytime he makes a tattoo bet, all those tiny tattoos go on the upper thigh. So he's got a ton of random like, tattoos that you'll never really see, because there's, sometimes you got to make tattoo bets. So, if Joseph does get the upper thigh, not a lot of people are seeing this tattoo, right? You usually got pants on, we got things covering that, so it's fine. It still fits in the Penske model. But
that was going to be my thing, is the biggest question here isn't whether Joseph would or would not. It's would Papa Penske give the sign off for the Penske perfectness.
Well, I'm fairly sure Ryan has tattoos. I don't know.
He does.
But he does have tattoos. So I think it fits in the model some
Joseph.
way.
This is
Joseph.
The golden boy.
Indy 500 champ Joseph, which, again, by the way, this is kind of a segue, but I had in my notes, and this is kind of random, but I feel like Joseph Newgarden, why are we not seeing more from the Indy 500 champ, like on like a publicity stage? I guess I feel like when Marcus won, I feel like there was always something going on. Like with Marcus,
he was around a lot.
There was always something where it's like he's wearing his ring. I haven't seen. I don't know. I don't see. I haven't. And Jake, again, Joseph was in Japan with his wife for a while doing a vacation. The season's been over for a while, but like I haven't seen as much like, hey, this is our Indy 500 champ. This is our hero. And I want that. Like, I want to celebrate Joseph as the Indy 500 champ, because he's the perfect champion for us.
Well,
he should be doing media right now. He should be doing media all through the winter, which, again, that's annoying for a driver sometimes. But, like, that should be our selling point for the future. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I you remember on this very show, I think the week after the 500, our 500 recap, I put that challenge out to him. I was like, look, you need to wear this crown. You need to be our knight in shining armor, going out there with your chiseled chin and body,
tremendous hair,
and tremendous hair and smile. Like, you need to do this. It's all on you. You need to make this happen. And like you said, everybody has the right to some downtime and some vacation. Especially, hey, I'm a married man. I know it's important to designate that time to be with your lovely wife. Absolutely love that. That's great. But I'm with you. I feel like a couple things for Joseph. I feel like one, we know that he's just a very private guy and he doesn't really like having to do all that nonsense like that. And two, it almost felt, even after he won the 500, that he took it to an extreme of like, hey, yeah, we won the 500, but like we're on to the next one and we got to win the championship. And like, I'm more bummed that I didn't win the championship than I am happy that I won the 500. It's like,
I know,
bro, nobody gives a fuck about the championship.
Well, I mean, we do a little bit. We know a little bit.
Okay. No, yeah, absolutely. All right. But it's like, it's the equivalent of like winning the Heisman as compared to winning like the quarterback of the year. You know how they have that other award that's like, it's a name of an award, and I think it's like the Davey O'Brien trophy, right? And it's like, that's like the national quarterback of the year in college football.
Or like the Cheetos Bowl.
Right. That's the equivalent. It's like, if you win the Heisman, there's been this many guys who have done it, and you are in history forever. You are forever introduced, known as a Heisman Trophy winner. That's the same thing. I couldn't name you 3 guys who won the Davey O'Brien Trophy. I could name you almost at least half probably of the Heisman Trophy winners, right? Like, and so to your point, and that's where it's just like, bro, like, we get it, all right? We know that it's important to
competitive
be the best at every race and put the best foot forward and, you know, take care of our sponsors and take care of Team Penske, and we want to be there at the end. We get it, but like, just take a year. Take a year, not even a year.
Live it up. 8
months.
Yeah.
So that is kind of I didn't expect to get onto that, but it's true.
It was only just because like I just hadn't seen a lot of it. Like I feel like all I see on IndyCar social channels right now is Pato O'Ward. So like I don't know what else is going on, but Pato is there every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, and again, he's very marketable. Completely get that. You know, and Alex Palou, they had a couple of video clips of him. That's great. And again, we got to stay relevant, so they're putting stuff out there, which is good. But like, there's no one else but the same 4 guys. So like, I don't know, and like I haven't seen much about like Joseph Newgarden. Like I don't know. I don't like play that clip of him winning every week. Play like just send him somewhere to do something. You know what I mean? Put him on. Like, you could pay anyone to do a show. Put him on Pardon My Take still after the season is over. Like, hey, we got an Indy 500 champion on here. Let's talk about, you know, he's a Titans guy. Let's talk about the Titans too. He's a Tennessee guy. I don't know. Just there's stuff to talk about that you could be relevant in. And I just want to see more of Joseph Newgarden being the Indy 500 champion. You know what? He's already been an IndyCar champion. We love that. And again, the championship, that's amazing that Alex Palou got that. But Indy 500 is the Indy 500, and I think Joseph is the best, most marketable Indy 500 champion that we've had in a long time.
I agree, and he should get Ryan Blaney's face tattooed on him because it would be cool and interesting and something to talk about. And I have a lot of tattoos, and I think tattoos are awesome. So, but that's just a little personal side note for any of the listeners out there who weren't familiar. Yes, I have a lot of tattoos, especially on my arm. Anyways, all right, what else do we got to get to here? We hit on Formula One. We hit on the NASCAR
little bit of
championship.
Formula One, yeah.
Do you want to get into our weekend podium?
Yeah, let's get into the podium. I think there's a few things on there that we can chat
we all
about.
Got some good
have
stuff.
a nice little chat about.
Good stuff.
So
cool.
cue podium theme music. All right, so I'm going to start out here. I do have a podium from essentially the last week-ish. P3 on the list is my girlfriend Amy's parallel parking skills.
Okay.
I am not I hate parallel park. I hate parking. I hate it. I don't like finding a spot. I feel like I've never been able to find a good spot. Sometimes whenever I do find a good spot, I celebrate like I've won, you know, an Indy 500. It's amazing. But we were out in LA for Halloween, and parking very difficult out there, right? Very difficult. And so she was driving. We were going to one of her friends' houses, trying to find some parking. You know, very popular area. And I'm actually driving. I'm driving the car, and she's like, "Oh, that's the space right there." I'm like, "Bah, I don't know if this car will fit in there." And so I'm like, "All right, we'll give it a try." I try once. She's like, "Let me do it." I'm like, "All right." So Amy gets in the car, and I'm like, I get out of the car to obviously like give her the exact, like I'm talking you like this is to the inch. We need to back up to the car and then go forward, and then back up to the car and then
Austin
go forward.
Power style. Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah.
But she nailed it. Like, we're talking 4 inches to the rear, 4 inches to the front. Like, we're talking fitting a car in an exact car space. Now, it took 15 minutes, but we got it in there.
Got to do what you got to do for your space, man.
I mean, I was just, and again, we soft contact to the front. You know, bumpers are there's a little bit of a squeeze on there.
Bumpers are meant for bumping.
Bumpers are meant for bumping. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So a little bit of this, no damage done to anyone. You know, it had the license plates on both sides, so you kind of can just get away with a little bit of contact there. Very impressive. I honestly, I would have never done that because I hate parallel parking, but she was trusting me, saying, come on back, stop, go on forward, stop. And it was quite an operation.
Wow, so no reverse camera.
No, she does have the reverse camera, but I'm still like, I'm literally like, hey, you're in the front bumper of the car, so let's stop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was, I mean, shout out to Amy for being a parallel parking wizard, because I got out of the car and handed over the wheel, and I'm proud to say that because it worked out great. We had a fantastic parking spot. It was very convenient for our both arrival and departure later in the evening. And hey,
you know what you say? You know what you say? Hey, I'm a driver. I'm not a parker. Okay,
that's true.
That's what I do.
If we're parking in the race, we're doing something bad.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You know, it's why you balance each other out. It's what relationships are about. You drive, she can park. That's good. Way to go, Amy.
Exactly. I'm a spotter now, too.
I'm a spotter, yes.
My podium, we're going to start off on the low totem pole here, the third place. Not low totem pole, but, you know, the shortest one. Third place. This is going to go to the IMS end of year sale that's going on as we record right now. This is Wednesday, right? Yeah,
it is.
Wednesday. I know that it's live online. Both IMS and IndyCar. I mean, they got some really, really great stuff. I saw things that were marked down that are usually like $95 that were like $45. I mean, just really crazy deals to get ready for the holidays and shopping and all of that. So I got a cart full that I'm getting. And so if you're looking for IMS merch that you saw maybe at the shop when you were in town last year that maybe you're like, just not going to pull the trigger yet, I don't know, now's the time to go check that out and you know, get yourself some good stuff. And I promise this isn't even like a paid spot by IMS or anything. This is just from one fellow race fan to another who loves to get IMS merch, gear, IndyCar stuff. Go check that out.
And my merch is also there too. Like they're still selling, you know, my diecast cars. And again, if you like buying one of those still helps support me and then supports our team. So like there are plenty of diecast cars and the gift shop, plenty of shirts still because they got to get rid of them. So you know, even if it's an older shirt for next year, doesn't matter. Still means a lot to me. Jerseys, shirts, hats, stuff like that. And mini helmets. There are mini helmets at the IMS gift shop. And the mini helmets are really cool. That's something I've never had in my career until the year I get fired midway through. And so now there's really cool mini helmets in there though. So feel like get your hands on one of those if you want to. Great Christmas gifts too coming up.
Yep. There is a whole line of shirts that are $5 right now. I'm looking right now because I might have to pull the trigger.
You got to.
So good to know. Thank you for that, Joey.
You got it. Ben, what you got?
My bronze medal, I'm going with this week. We talked about it before, but Ben Rhodes' drunk press conference, whether you like it or not, it's still kind of funny to watch. I wrote down a few of my favorite things that he said. Even right when he sat down, he said he got lit beforehand. He made maybe a questionable hand gesture. With particularly you know, he was drinking a lot of beer, I'm going to say, but maybe
beers.
The gesture was interesting and seeing something else. No, he wasn't actually, but, you know, his terminology was there.
Interesting.
He said, this is news to me, brother. When he said one of his competitors had damage, he burped at least probably 3 times. I counted. I only got halfway through.
You got to hold that in. Hold that in.
I mean, the first one, he went right into the microphone, and he felt really bad, and he apologized. So that was interesting. Threw out a couple Mama Jammas. That's a good one. He did a semi-truck.
I haven't heard the word Mama Jamma used in a long time.
Oh, yeah.
A long time.
I agree. I don't think I've ever personally used that. He did a semi-truck's J brake impression when he's talking about going in the wind tunnel.
Great.
He said dinosaurs aren't real, like you said. And he said he loves a good cow. He loves a good cow.
A good cow.
As in like
those
a
are some of
burger
my favorite. Or just
steak. He loves steak. He's talking about how he gets sent steak like every week by one of his buddies. So that's like his pre-race meal or post-race.
I don't think you would have been able to take this guy seriously if you were watching this clip, Joey. Honestly, I would have actually loved to have seen your live reaction to what was going on here.
I just would have thought it was like an SNL sketch or something.
Oh, I mean, you could have, it could have passed off as that. So, yeah.
All right.
Very funny.
Keeping it light. Keeping it light. Cool.
Yeah, keeping it light. Truck champions. All right, P2 for me on the list. We talked a little bit about it earlier, the F1 race, but man, P2 on the list for me was the Fernando Alonso, Sergio Perez battle coming to the line for the last podium spot in Brazil. That was awesome. I know we've given Formula One a lot of grief for having literally awful racing most of the year, but that was a tremendous fight to the finish, like hundredths of a second separating them both side by side at the line. Great job by the FIA and Formula One to time the DRS zone perfectly for that type of finish. Very, very smart. Fernando Alonso still got it. I love cheering for Fernando. He's a great guy. I even sent him a little message after the race. I would like to share the response because I think he was also feeling very, very pumped. Where did that go? Where is the message? But that was just such a fantastic finish. I side by side, Formula One at the line, you just never see anymore. And I said to Fernando, I said Sunday 2:20 p.m. Said that was a great race to watch. Amazing. See you in Vegas. And all he said Monday at 5:42 in the morning, he says, was mega. So Fernando Alonso says it was mega. So good for Fernando for getting back to us there on the Speed Street podcast.
Love it. I love it. Live reporting.
I definitely enjoyed watching that race. It was it's just fun to see good racing. I don't care what it is, and obviously we've given grief to Formula One, but that battle was podium worthy because they were literally fighting for a podium. And Aston Martin has had an awful run of races recently, and then they finished third and fifth. So Aston Martin is back. Great race for Fernando. Once again, he's still got it.
Way to go, Fernando. All right.
Freddie.
Let's go. My second place this weekend, a friend of both of ours, I believe. Big shout out to Kenny Moore II.
Yeah,
man, what a game for this guy.
Great game.
Old 23 for your beloved Indianapolis Colts. Not just two interceptions, 2 pick sixes, 2 touchdowns. No, he doesn't play receiver. He plays defensive back. Scored more touchdowns. Bryce Young threw more touchdowns to him than he did his own receivers. But what a game. What a game. You don't see that often. I feel like if a guy gets 1 pick six for a season, that's a big deal, let alone 2 in the same damn game. So shout out Kenny Moore, man. I know people were giving him a hard time last year at the new defensive coordinator. And he had himself a game in front of his family. His sisters were there, and it looked awesome. So big shout out to Kenny Moore II.
I have been trying to get Kenny on the show. So I have communicated with the Colts PR team like the week before the season started. And they told me that he'd like to get the season going first. Well, we're 9 weeks in, and I haven't heard back from him. So I like Kenny a lot. I know
you
they're
just got to go
busy,
straight to the source, man. The
I know.
PR is always going to give you that runaround bullshit.
Well, I text Kenny, and Kenny told me to talk to these guys. So I will. I'm a big fan of Kenny. We are going to get him on this show at some point. But again, NFL season is pretty hectic. So have the Colts already had their bye week? Have we already had our bye week?
I don't know. No, it's probably coming up next week, I bet, because they play in Germany this weekend. So I feel like
yeah. You're right.
Week off.
So, we'll figure it out. But yeah, Kenny, great guy. Super pumped for him. I really, really pumped for him.
Ben, number 2.
Number 2 for me, this is a pretty much non-sports or non-racing related topic, but Connor, I'm pretty sure as a video game enjoyer you will enjoy this, but Grand Theft Auto 7, the trailer, apparently is coming out in December. I played a good amount of GTA 6, but the whole meme around them never releasing it, they've been working on it for 18,000 years, but if anybody played any of the Grand Theft Auto series, the new game is on the horizon, and then nobody thought they'd be old enough to outlive that. So that's my one thing we missed too, speaking of video games, is IndyCar video game news.
Yes. And we can talk a little bit about that after the podium, because we do need to talk about that. But yeah. I did play so I was never a Grand Theft Auto 3 guy. Like I wasn't.
Sorry, I might have said 7. I meant 6. But yeah.
Well, you're a child, so that makes sense.
Thank you.
I didn't play Grand Theft Auto, and then I think it was Grand Theft Auto like 4 maybe that I really got into, and it was like really fun. There was something about it that was like, shoot, this game's fun. And I think it was the Xbox Live component or something.
It was killing hookers and shit.
No, I don't know. There was like there was something about that game where I was like, wow, we had a great time playing it. Like me and the boys, I had a great time playing it. And again, it was always a very risque game. Like growing up, my parents were like, "Oh, never play Grand Theft Auto." But as I grew older, I was like, this game's actually a fun game. So
my mom,
I haven't played it since, though. I haven't played it since.
My mom would have literally ended my life if I tried to play Grand Theft Auto.
And again, my mother would have done the same thing. If I would have tried to play Grand Theft Auto as like a 13-year-old, 14-year-old, nope, that's executed. We're dead. We're out of here.
That's one of those, hey, you go over to old Tommy's house, who's the youngest of like 6 kids. His parents don't give a shit about what he does anyways, so you go play it over there.
Yeah, Tommy's got Grand Theft Auto 2.5, you know what I mean?
Yep. But you don't tell him about it because then you can't go over to Tommy's house. Yeah. So you don't ever mention it. It's just, it goes unspoken. All right, Connor, you're number 1.
Well, my number 1. So I went very sort of generic, but my number 1 is the NASCAR Championship weekend. What they do for it, the way they do it. Again, I don't know if Phoenix is the right place for it. I do think maybe another track could be explored. But some of the racing, I did enjoy watching, like some of the truck racings, the Xfinity race. I enjoyed watching, but the way they do it, the way that it's like, hey, you just got to be the best guy. You know what I mean? Like I think I do have time for it. Now, again, after a whole season's worth of work, if let's say, I had won the most races of the season, we were leading the points. If it was just a point system, I would probably feel cheated if I didn't win the championship. Like, let's say, Christopher Bell had a right front brake rotor explode, right? Like, yeah, he had a bunch of stuff like mechanically fail in the car, and it didn't matter what at all happened during the year, but the guy ends up finishing 4th of the 4, championship competitors. So I see it, but as a fan, I obviously have a driver opinion because I'm a driver, but as a fan, like, I found myself entertained. Like there was still a race to watch, right? Like you still had Ross Chastain winning the championship race, which is great. Mm-hmm. And then Blaney finishing 2nd, right? But like, same with like Ben Rhodes and he didn't win the race, but he just had to beat one guy at the end. And I enjoyed following that. I think it gets a little desperate at times, but like some of the racing was like really good. So I enjoy the drama of it, and I enjoy the setup of it. I enjoy how I think it's just fresh for racing. Like obviously, when you look at Formula One, when you look at IndyCar, Formula One's champion's been decided since since Labor Day, right? Like we've had a champion in Formula One since the season started, right? And IndyCar, I mean, shoot, even IndyCar, we had the champion pretty early on. Not too early for us, but at least one race early, right? And I know that there's a championship focus in IndyCar, and it's a great championship focus because our championship is so tight. But there's just something about that, the way they do the playoffs that I do find entertaining, and I think it engages people. I really do. Yep. Everyone's gonna have a different opinion on it, but I enjoyed it as a fan because again, I sat on my couch all weekend and I watched racing, and I enjoyed it.
What more can you ask for on the last weekend of the year?
Exactly.
That's what keeps coming back for sure.
And if you still look at it too, NASCAR, I saw they were down 9% viewers for the finale race, right? But that's still 3 million people are watching their championship finale. That is a huge number of people on NFL Sunday.
That's
literally you're going up against the biggest sports
league
league in the world, and you're getting 3 million people. So man, that's strong. That's strong.
Big for sure. All right, my first place for the weekend goes to the fine folks at the University of Alabama. Actually,
all right.
So I was down there, and man, they really were just so welcoming and endearing, and they hooked us up with a tour of the football facilities. Got taken around everywhere there. hooked us up with sideline passes before the game, and even as me and my wife were wearing our purple and gold of LSU, rooting on the Tigers, they looked past that and they said, "Hey, we're glad you're down here," and they wanted to show us a good time. Maybe potentially trying to recruit. But that's just part of it. But they were great. It was an absolutely phenomenal scene. I mean, lives up to the hype, the aura, everything you hear about SEC game day, especially when it's Alabama, LSU, two kind of schools like that going at it. So. The game itself was, it didn't work out in my favor because LSU apparently couldn't figure out how to spy Jalen Milroe, but that's a different conversation.
Yep. I did have Alabama money line, no big deal.
Yep. So that was unfortunate, but everything leading up to it, the whole weekend, the day of the game, being around Tuscaloosa, interacting with folks, and the whole game day scene there. College game day was there, but then all the tailgating and everything that was going on.
Did you interact with Nick Saban?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
so the
man.
athletic director at Alabama is the one who gave us the tour of the facilities. And about 10 minutes into our meeting, we were in the AD's office, getting ready to go, check out everything. And finally, he was just like, "I know what you're thinking, and I would love to get you with him as much as you would, but he's got the blinders on. It's just we can't do it today." And I was like, "Okay,
Oh man,
whatever." So. Did not get to interact with Coach Saban, unfortunately, but we'll have our day, hopefully, at some point. But yeah, no, it's just I highly recommend anybody, if you're a fan of college football, if you're a fan of just going to big events, hitting a spot like that for a big game is an absolutely must-do.
Love that. I do hope that you get to hang out with Nick Saban, though, at some point. There's got to be some sort of interaction there. Yeah.
At some point. At some point. Ben.
Cool. Yeah, I went to South Carolina last year for when Charlotte played them, and that was like my first time seeing SEC country, and that was insane.
Pretty
and I'm
wild
sure
there. Yeah.
Even bigger schools are even crazier, so that's cool.
Yeah.
P1 for me, some more football talk. My Vikings, who I was pretty much after Jaron Hall, our rookie quarterback, went down and replacing the injured Kirk Cousins. I pretty much was ready to shut off the game because Josh Dobbs came in, and I'm like, this guy didn't take any reps in practice, was just learning the playbook. Was literally like practicing with Garrett Bradbury, the center, on the sideline, like getting cadence, like because he didn't even really know it. So
I had the Vikings
ready to give up. Did you?
I had the Vikings this weekend. I have faith in Josh Dobbs. I did.
Yeah.
I was like, and then when I saw he wasn't
baby.
When I saw he wasn't starting, I was like, oh no, I made the wrong bet. And then I was like, and we're back.
We're back. And the first half looked pretty bad.
It did.
Fumbles, and he kept dropping the ball. I was like, all right, well, this is giving me Josh Freeman flashbacks. If you guys remember when he started for the Vikings, like it was like 7-8 years ago. Anyways, he rallies the troops and ended up beating the Falcons after they were down. They kind of stayed in it linger, but that was crazy. And I just saw he won NFC Offensive Player of the Week, I think. So that was pretty awesome. So I'm kind of back on the train because I think they're 5-4 now. So it's after starting 0-4.
You're almost in the playoffs, essentially.
So yeah, they have a playoff spot right now. I think they're the 7th seed. So kind of crazy. So my roller coaster ride of football this year continues.
Love it.
That's amazing. Good for you.
Well, YouTube viewers, we had a random interaction happen. We had Scotty McLaughlin, Penske racing driver, call in and say, "Hey, we can chat on the show." So had a quick chat with Scott. And here's our interview with him. Ladies and gentlemen, quick update to the show. We have a very special guest who decided to jump in, just, hey, shooting some text messages around. We decided we were going to do a little IndyCar Inquiry of the Week with Scotty Mack, Scott McLaughlin, who is a very talented young racing driver for the Penske organization. Scott, quick questions for you. We know that you have parked on the side of the road to do this interview with us. We appreciate that. We're obviously a safety first podcast here. There's no question about that.
Still got the seatbelt on.
Still seatbelt on the side of the road. Park.
Yeah.
Scott, you were in Phoenix. Looked like an amazing time. Had a Ryan Blaney shirt on. You are a part of a NASCAR championship winning team. IndyCar championship winning team. You guys won everything essentially except for the IndyCar championship. No big deal. You'll get it next year. What was that? What was the vibes like out there? Were the vibes high? Did you get to see all the races from the weekend, or was it just the Sunday? Give me a vibe check on the championship winning celebration. Where did that rank? I want to hear about it.
Oh, look, positive vibes only, Connor, as you know. It was unreal. I went to SEMA. I was in Vegas.
Oh,
so,
yes.
I was there for a little bit. And then when he won Martinsville, Blaney, I said to Carly, my wife, who's a superstar, I was like, babe, we're going to Phoenix. And she's like, yeah, okay, why not? We're already there. So, all right. So we stayed in Vegas for a couple more days, then went to Phoenix. And it was unreal, man. Best thing. So I didn't see any other racing. I arrived on Saturday. I stayed in an Airbnb with some of Blaney's friends and whatnot. And then we hit the track. And it was an amazing experience. Sat with all the buds and family in this suite that Ryan had organized. Absolute class, dude.
Love a good family suite. That's a good one. That's a party is high there.
We were just nervous drinking the whole race. I don't think I've ever been so genuinely nervous. I mean, first and foremost, he's a teammate, but he's a friend of mine now, and you just want him to do well. You know how much he puts into it, and to see him get it done, dude, it was so special and such a special experience being sort of with everyone there, and really, really, really exciting.
I love that. Joey, go
Scott,
for it.
Scotty Mack, my question for you is, I know that you're a big golf enthusiast. Who is your dream foursome? Anybody, dead or alive? Scotty Mack's dream foursome golf.
Wow. Okay. Blaney's one of them because we always golf together, and I know he gambles, so that's a good thing. And then I'll probably Tiger Woods and Michael Jordan.
Okay, fairly straightforward. You just got a bunch of goats out there.
That's an elite
Just a
group.
bunch of goats.
Yes.
Fun. Cigars will be smoked. It will be fun, and I will like that. It was fun. Yeah, you get it. You get it, Connor. No disrespect, you weren't in it. You're very close to it. You're in the second group behind it.
I'll be the caddy. I'll be the guy. Yeah. I'm carrying bags. I'm holding beers. That'll be me. That's my future anyway.
Love that.
Fair enough.
Love it. And then Joey can commentate it.
Yeah.
I'll just broadcast you guys for it. That'd be great.
Ben, do you have one IndyCar inquiry for Scott McLaughlin?
I have to say, so, celebrating and hanging out with the NASCAR people, besides Blaney, do you have somebody that's maybe kind of a surprise? Like, I wouldn't expect them to celebrate as hard as they did, just being around the NASCAR guys.
No, honestly, it was pretty tame. I think the big party will come here later in the month. Poor Blaney had 10:30. He didn't get to the bar till 10:30, 11 o'clock. So he was torched,
That's
tired
tough.
already, from all the media stuff. So it was pretty tame. But at this moment, it's hard to go past Blaney. He's a party. He's a good lad.
I've had a night out with Blaney before, many years ago.
Yeah.
I immediately gained a ton of respect for him. I was like, I like that guy a lot. I have a lot of respect for Ryan Blaney.
The guy's 125 pounds wringing wet, and he can put more beers back than most people I know. So it's impressive. But he's a great champion for NASCAR, dude. I think they're gonna market the piss out of him. He's there. He's gonna be a great guy for them.
He's got that dog in him. Some would say he's got that dog in him. In the middle of the race when he's throwing birds at other competitors, I'm like, this guy's got that dog in him. Did that make you guys nervous at all up there? You're like, we got a little contact being made.
Well, when he made the contact, we were all like, no, we don't need to do that. We don't need to do that.
Don't sacrifice the front of the vehicle.
But man, it was we knew he looked quick, man, and it was super cool seeing him get it done.
My favorite part too, Roger showing up to the celebration. Boom, all IMS gear. He's like, he's IMS, IMS till forever. That was my favorite part. Just coated in the speedway, and it made me feel like, hey, there's a little bit of IndyCar there or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Don't worry. There's plenty of IndyCar out there. I had a number of people come up to me that were IndyCar fans, motorsport fans, obviously. Plenty of love out there. So it was cool. Best decision I made for a long time was going to Phoenix, because it was definitely a once in a lifetime opportunity seeing your bud get it done and win it at all.
Well, I mean, you make a lot of great decisions, Scott. So that's a big statement to make. So I respect that. Don't want to take up too much of your time. This was a very last minute text message, but I appreciate you coming on to enrich our show. And we can talk about IndyCar hybrids another day, because that's another day.
That's serious. That's when I probably need to put the polo on and have a proper seat and stuff.
Yeah,
and have
maybe
a big think about a few things.
Shell, Pennzoil stuff, all that thing. Yeah.
It's going well. That's all I can say. I can say they're doing plenty of miles, which is a nice thing.
lot of testing. They're down in Homestead this week, Scott. Are you feeling ripped off? What's going on? That's wild.
I mean, I'm okay. I'm all right,
Yes.
but it's nice to have a week at home. But at the same time, you like being in the car. But it's been fun to get to know it and work with IndyCar on things, as you can imagine. And there's gonna be a lot of testing for everyone here soon, so it's exciting.
Well, that sounds lovely. So, Scott, thank you so much. Appreciate you jumping in here. A little last-minute activity, but I know the people will love to hear from you. So congratulations on being a part of a celebration last weekend and having some time off.
Yeah, thank
Thanks,
you, Connor,
Scotty.
as you can understand. Thanks.
See ya, buddy.
Cheers.
I'm going to Vegas next week, too, by the way, so I will be texting you live from there.
Oh, you can FaceTime me. Cheers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Scotty, Mack,
All right,
thank
see
you.
boys.
Say, bro. And of course, we've come to the conclusion of our program. And without that, that's time for our Ricky Treadway Random Indy 500 Driver of the Week. And Connor Daly, you have been on this forever. You always supply us with a great driver. Who do we got this week?
Absolutely. We do have this week the 1940 Indy 500. 1940 Indy 500. We're going with the 25th place finisher. 25th place finisher is Doc Williams. Doc Williams is the 25th place finisher. Doc Williams, sponsored by, if this is the sponsor that I read correctly, the car name entrant is the Quillen Brothers Refrigerator. So I don't know what's going on there, but there was a refrigerator sponsor maybe. Merrill Henry Doc Williams, born in Indianapolis, Indianapolis guy. Attempted to qualify for the Indianapolis 500 every year from 1933 to 1941, but only succeeded in qualifying in 36, 40, and 41, which is wild. After the war, in 1946, Williams again failed to qualify. So this guy gave it everything he had.
Oh, yeah.
And 1947, he qualified a car, but then it was driven by Herb Ardinger, who I believe was already a random Indy 500 driver of the week at one point.
Sounds familiar.
And he finished fourth. So tough, interesting battle. He only ever tried to qualify for the Indy 500 as well. No other IndyCar races, it looks like, on his schedule. So what a wild lifestyle by Doc Williams.
Yeah, you got to respect the nickname, I think. That's one of those of the times. I feel like you don't get too many Docs nowadays. So
Yeah.
maybe they should bring it back. But yeah, hell yeah. I'd rather go by Doc than by Merrill.
Exactly.
Put it on his gravestone. So born in Indianapolis, passed away April 28th, 1982 in Richmond, Indiana. So he was an Indiana boy through and through. Shout out to you, Doc Williams. All right, that is the conclusion of the show. Our Ricky Treadway Random Indy 500 Driver of the Week. Connor is heading out to Vegas for the big weekend there, so wish him luck. He'll be FaceTiming Scotty Mack. We will be here in Indianapolis, maybe watching the race at 1 a.m. at a bar somewhere. Who knows? But follow Connor for all of his coverage coming up this weekend. It's going to be a weekend you can't miss, absolutely. And we appreciate you guys, of course, for sticking with us, riding along with us here on Speed Street. And until then, we'll talk to you next week on Speed Street.
Hey everyone, Connor Daly here. Please leave a like on this video if you did enjoy it, and also subscribe to the channel as well. That would be very helpful. Be a friend, tell a friend. Thank you so much for the support, and we'll see you on the next episode of Speed Street.